the kits and stuff like that for the Tongan tsunami relief. So, I'd expect all of the Tongan players to turn out and play. And the Samoan players as well, because they need to be putting their hands up for the World Cup selection. And there's some good players from Samoa that will be on the fringes of that side. So I would expect a very Pacific Island featuring side here for this.
I'd have thought so. I think it could be. I mean, I'm not sure what else is on that weekend, but it could be quite an interesting game, depending on who Wayne picks as well. And it might be worth trundling along and having a look.
Well, the England women play as well in the doubleheader, don't they? They play Wales, is it, or France? I can't remember which. I
bet they have a very interesting looking kit as well.
Yeah, the kit's good. So that both have got Tonga-inspired kits. The Combies will be playing in a red kit that basically looks like a Tonga shirt, and then the England shirt will effectively have the same Tongan tribal pattern type thing imprinted into the shirt, but it'll be white rather than red. Yeah. So both shirts are good, and I was very tempted to buy the England shirt, to be honest, for this one-off game.
Oh, might have a look, Mark.
But yeah, I hope that it is a good game, that it is a competitive game, because England need it. If we're going to come up against a few Samoan players, these might be players that we're going to come up against in the first game of the tournament anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced too many of the Tongan players will make their finals, make the Tongan squad, but Lola here, you'd be thinking of being that squad. Obviously, he's been a mainstay of their side for a few years anyway, for Tonga, sorry. So, yeah, and Reece Martin will be playing for PNG. There's no doubt about that, injury aside. So I think there's but there's a couple of players who can put themselves in contention, even at like Fiji and New Zealand and stuff. You can't write these players out completely of contention, I don't think.
No, I agree, and I mean there'll be something on it for the England players as well. So people are going to be playing for places as coaches start to refine what they're doing with the squads for the World Cup, which is not that long away.
Yeah. I think it's a strong squad and not too many shock choices, and hopefully Tom Johnson has a stormer and puts himself bang into that England squad and gets no more injuries.
Yeah, I hope so.
Right, that is the news section. We've not said that this year. Covered. We're now.
It's a good job it's not the Easter weekend, is it? We've got 2 rounds to do.
Oh no, we've not got so much on the matches, I don't think so. I've not written as many notes as I normally write, let's put it that way. But we will move on to cover round 10 of Super League next.
Let's do that.
So, round 10 of Super League kicked off on Friday night. I can't believe they made teams play on Friday night, but no. It was Castleford versus St Helens. It was 14-0 to the Cast adults against the Saints children at half time, and it finished 30 points to 10 to Castleford. 7,649 were there. Credit to any Saints fans who made the journey to watch their academy side combined with a couple of reserve players. Jack Smith was the referee, so we were even in reserve grade for the referees. It wasn't one of the full-timers, was it? Unless he's back on the full-time panel now. Maybe he is.
Although I thought he did all right, Smith.
He's been decent this year. He's back regularly refereeing Super League. His performances have warranted it. In terms of stats, incomplete team stats because Super League's website is missing some of St Helens youngsters. It's not a huge shock that. We do know from the stats we do have, which is all the Castleford stats and most of the St Helens stats, that this game did have the most tackle bust / missed tackles so far of the season. We just don't know exactly how many. But around about 80. So
a lot.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. It's third game in 8 days kind of numbers that though. To be honest, individually, do you want to take us through the individual numbers?
I will. So for the winning Castleford side, Jason Gary, still think he should be called Gary. 1 try, 7 tackle busts, 174 metres. Jake Mamo, 2 try assists, 8 tackle busts, 172 metres and 2 clean breaks. Paul McShane, 1 try assist, 47 tackles and 10 marker tackles. George Lawler, 5 tackle busts and 155 metres. And for the losing Saints, Kyle Amor making a rare appearance of 185 metres, dragging up the average age of the team. And Dan Norman, who made a creditable 120 metres.
Yep. Fatboy Rob sent in a fan view pre-match. He said, Reese from Hull said on Twitter, St David is a shambles of a fan, and I agree. Pass it on. What's that about?
So there was an exchange between myself and a guy called Reese from Hull, whoever he was.
Reese from Hull.
Yeah, he is, yeah. Because even though I bought a ticket for the game, I decided not to go on Friday night, having been to 2 Saints games and 2 Liverpool games over the course of the Easter weekend. I decided to give it a miss, given that my team were giving it a miss, and I got a bit of stick for that. I understand that. Not a problem. I don't have a problem. I'll take it on the chin.
At Mike Webb 58 said, time will tell on the rights and wrongs of this, but blame the fixtures, not Saints. Really enjoyable contest and a demonstration of the Saints system and strength in depth. Could even have been closer with better execution. Expect to see more of Ben Davies in the future. He's another one of the halfback up. I thought he was a centre, but clearly he can play in the halves, can't he?
Yeah, I think he is more of a centre, but he's got a decent pair of hands. He might play this week, actually, because we've still got some chaps missing in the backs. Always in our shadow, says Gary, the original 45-second man, or as I like to think, Gary, the original 45-second man. Cast their own worst enemies, chance to score a shitload, but instead of playing rugby, decided to try and bash their way through the kids. Moving the ball, and the tries came, which is absolutely right. Once they shifted it wide, we were struggling to hold them out. Wide?
Fatboy Rob said, good performance for a depleted cast team, missing 9 players, he said in brackets. Academy product Gary ran the full length of the field in the first minute and could have had a couple more if Fanua had remembered how to pass. 4th choice winger Olferts helped himself to a couple of tries to secure... He was first choice before Greg Eden got back in the side, guys. Himself to a couple of tries to secure yet another victory for top 6 cast against the champions, Asterix. Radford outcoached Wolf, who was missing suspended players, and Dodds. The asterisk was cheats rather than champions, is what Rob has said there.
Yeah. Neil Ormston said, others will have an opinion on the depleted Saints team, but I'll resist the temptation to have a pop, much as I want to. Good. He's been very generous today. He is.
He just wants you to get more Saints fans to subscribe to Rugby League Record Keepers Club, doesn't he?
Must be that. As I can see both sides of the argument. However, to bring some facts to the conversation, let's not pretend this is about Saints blooding future stars. He's right. The last time the team fielded so many debutants in the Super League game was also Saints, when they sent the reserve to Catalan. We did. The week before 2006 Cup final, they had 9 debutants that day and 7 never played again for Saints. So it's unlikely we see much more of the kids that played on Friday. One youngster I hope we do see more of is Gary. His try was one of the highlights of the season. It was a belter. Though perhaps Cass might just play him for the first 5 minutes of matches in future.
What they need to do is make sure his first game of the season is a game that they want to get off to a shit-out start for, because this is the 2nd season in a row that Gary has scored on his first touch of the season. Not of the match. It was of the match, but it's his first touch of the season.
It's pretty impressive, that. It's a good record to have, that.
Shoddy and Mungo said, with Saints having more players unavailable than at an international fixture weekend, it was an easy win for Cass. At least with squads named in advance now, there wasn't an opportunity for other players to make a quick buck at the bookies.
Indeed. He remembers these
God,
things.
imagine if we did this back when Longy and Gleeson went to the bookies.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom Andrews, very frustrating to the Saints side. This isn't Super League quality side and pretty much brings the game into disrepute. Basically handing HMS piss on the kids, an easy 2 points. Saints is similar a few years back, getting beat by London twice, which totally altered the relegation battle. Yes, we all like to see debuts, but for fuck's sake, this was a piss take. Still did better than Wakefield at Hull KR, by the way. But anyway, never mind.
And Huddersfield at Warrington.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, what's your take then on it? I can see the balance in the choice made. You've got, I think it's a little bit of a reflection of Wolf thinking you are as far ahead of everyone else as everyone else seems to think you are, in that he doesn't think this will derail things for a one game kind of throwing it, basically. Let's face it, that's what he's done.
No, definitely.
And looked at the long game thinking, well, we'll still win the league, still win all the trophies.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what he's hoping, isn't it? I mean, personally, I was disappointed because, as I said, I bought a ticket. I always like going to Castleford, but I wasn't going to drag myself up the M62 on a Friday night. And it turned out that was a good idea because they closed the bloody junction on the M62 coming back to watch the reserves play. No matter how much I like my reserve team, I wouldn't go and watch my reserves play away, and I'm not doing it on a Friday night at the M62. So I was disappointed from that perspective, but I get why. I totally understand it. Saints are the only team to play Friday, Monday, Friday.
Yeah.
Last week, so we have across those 3 games there were 5 rest days in between. Most teams had 7 or 8, so rest days in between their 3 games. So, and we were the only team to play 2 out of the top 4 in Wigan and Huddersfield before the Easter weekend. So I totally get why he did it. I was disappointed personally. No surprise at the result of the game. Thought we did pretty well before the game. I said if we could keep the score down so that the gap was less than 30, that would be good going for a team like this. And hopefully we'll take something out of it, and hopefully for us anyway, we'll see the benefit of having rested the players last week in the next 2 or 3 weeks. As John Keir, I think, was saying on the Super League show, this is probably the last rest for Saints until after the grand final.
Yeah, whereas there was, teams like Castleford able to get a rest weekend in a couple of weeks' time because they're already out of the cup. Warrington,
yeah.
I guess, similar, although they've got so many injuries that they ended up playing quite a few backup players in their games. But I mean, what a try, Gary. That's.
Well, it was a great try. His balance was brilliant because he got hit a couple of times on the way down the touchline.
Yeah, it was outstanding stuff. The other try that impressed me was the Truman try. It was Mamo's footwork, though, when the in and away as he caught the ball and got through the line and broke basically 2 or 3 tackles whilst he was doing basically one step pretty much. I think that was good as well, but outside of that, from a cast perspective, they just did what they needed to do, which was win the game without any real stress.
Yeah, very professional. They did try to bash it in a few times under the post instead of pushing it wide. So they could probably have scored a few more tries if they were a bit smarter about what they were doing. But I thought Cast were very professional. They couldn't do anything other than just beat what was in front of them, and they did that and got the points, and good for them.
And there was a lot of credit given to the Saints kids for their sort of effort and application. You certainly, they were obviously outmatched when it came to having to make tackles. I think the young outside backs probably need to get better at finishing. Young Tommy Martin's son in particular needs to be a bit more aware of where the defenders are and that sort of thing, but the effort and the fight was there. That there was clearly some qualities and skills. We already talked about old Fringy Moss, didn't we? And
I mean,
Davies got pulled out as well.
Playing behind a largely beaten pack, I was quite impressed with what he did. So I am hoping we might see him get 1 or 2 minutes, a game or two this year. But I doubt he'll step into the halves to replace Dodd.
Not on a permanent basis, no.
I thought Davis did well, but he's 22, Davis, so